Raymond Ford and Kovatev out of Uzbekistan competed for the vacant WBA featherweight title. And it was a close fight. It was a competitive fight, but going into the 12th round, I had Kovatev up 106 to 104. Oh, actually, I had it 105, 104. God, bro, you bugging, bro. Raymond Felton defeated Kovatev of you. Oh my God, dude, you can't even talk. Raymond Ford defeated Kovatev of Uzbekistan to become the WBA featherweight champion. Now, they were competing for the vacant title, and I was watching that fight thinking, man, this is very interesting. Going into the 12th round, I had it 105, 104 for Kovatev. Now, I gave Kovatev the first 3 rounds. Then I gave Ford uh, the next 3 rounds. Then I gave Kovatev round 7. Then I gave Ford rounds 8 and 9. And then I gave Kovatev rounds 10 and 11. Now, there were some competitive rounds, but I thought they both landed flesh punches on each other, good quality shots. And I chose who I thought landed the most damaging shots during a round, which fluctuated throughout the fight, as you can tell by the scorecard. But I think most people had Kovatev up going into the 12th. And then Raymond Ford was able to stop him. There's no complaint from me on the stoppage because he turned his back. And it wasn't the first time he turned his back. And I think there was even a knockdown or possibly a knockdown where the judge ruled it a slip. So it was interesting. But we do know that Kovatev was really hurt at that particular point in time. So no one's disputing the outcome, but Raymond Ford was very fortunate to score that come from behind knockout to become champion. Raymond Ford is a great talent. He's been on the Boxing Bros prospect of the year, contender of the year. He's been nominated. I don't think he's ever won the award, but he's been on our radar for a while, and we know that he's a serious fighter. We know what he brings to the table. With that being said, there are some things that I like to address with his performance because I noticed it early on in the fight, and I thought he was very lucky. I don't want to say lucky. There's no such thing as luck in boxing, but he was very fortunate to get that stoppage. The first thing I noticed with Raymond Ford is something I noticed with a lot of young, up-and-coming, skilled boxers. He waited for Komatev to throw a punch and try to counter. He waited for the counter too much. And when you're in there with someone like Kovatev, they're intelligent and they have high boxing IQ. So they understand what you're trying to do, and they have numerous ways of initiating offense, and they understand how to offset your ability to counter because they know you're waiting for patterns. They know you're waiting to try to see if you can figure out what they're doing. So just when you think you got it figured out, they switch it up on you. Occasionally you'll catch them and occasionally you'll get them, but they know enough to offset your rhythm and offset what you're thinking and to keep you guessing. So if you're fighting a really good fighter, waiting to counter isn't going to be the best thing because really skilled fighters know how to initiate offense in a number of ways. So what I noticed was he wanted to counter, but instead of waiting to counter, he needed to use his jab to create opportunities. So again, you're giving the opponent something to think about. So waiting to counter and waiting to capitalize off your opponent's mistake is one thing. But at least if you're initiating offense with a jab, you're forcing them into a mistake. You're possibly forcing them into doing something they don't want to do, which creates an opportunity for your offense. And so I feel like it's okay to look for the counter, but at least try to set up a counter or at least try to force someone like Kovatev to make a mistake by using your jab. So I felt like uh, Raymond Ford should have used his jab more, and that could have offset a lot of what Kovatev was able to do. And another thing I noticed was at points in the fight, Raymond Ford was walking down Kovatev, but again, he wasn't using the jab and he wasn't using head movement. He was catching the punches on the gloves. And the problem with catching the punches on the gloves is, one, if someone hits hard enough, it's still going to cause damage and it's still going to mark up your face. And two, the other problem with catching punches with your gloves is some are going to slip through, especially if a fighter throws in combination. So again, someone with skill, someone who knows you're picking off one shot with your gloves, throws two. So now you got to pick off two shots. And they throw two, they know you're thinking that they're going to throw two in rhythm, and then they throw three. Or they throw one, get you to open up, and then come back with more. So again, it's just smart to utilize a jab, touch your opponent up with the jab, variation from change levels, body to the head, and that way you're scoring while you're waiting. That way you're giving the appearance of being active while you're waiting. And utilizing head movement when applying pressure for me was a very important one with Raymond Ford, because I feel like when he was able to utilize his head movement and he weaved out of the way of punches and he weaved and then he came back with a counter, I thought it was very successful. When he initiated his offense with a jab, I thought he was very successful. So they say when you become a champion, you get 8 times better. If that is the truth, then I'd like to see Raymond Ford work on those things. Salute to him on a thrilling stoppage. I thought it may have been over for him and he was going to take an L, but he showed that he had a dog in him by going out there and going for the knockout. And salute to Komatev as well, because he showed a lot of skill, very talented fighter. It's a dangerous opponent for anyone, and I thought he gave a good account of himself as well. Overall, great fight. Thank you for listening. Court is in recess.